Gang, Primal Punch here. Just wanted to come at you with a little video about covering your scent. Okay, just a little more like survival tips, just basic survival type tips. Okay, very simple, very basic. I just want to share this stuff with you guys because it may be something you hadn't thought of or hadn't considered or hadn't heard about. So today we're going to talk about covering our scent trail, all right, and covering our body smell, specifically for purposes of stalking prey or evading a pursuer, be it human or creature, or whatever. So, in the city, you don't notice smells as much, right? Because it's just this cornucopia of scents that just overwhelm the senses, and things don't stand out unless they're, extra pungent or foul or perfumey, But out in the wild, or in the desert, or even in a space that one is familiar with, foreign smells stand out. And what I mean by that are smells that do not belong in that place. So some of the simplest ways to cover our smell is to remember, if you're going to be going hunting, or if you are in a situation where you need to have as small an impact on your surroundings as possible in order to remain undetected, then you want to remember not to use scented soap for washing your clothing or for washing yourself. You can find plants in your area that have, what's the word that I'm looking for? Cleansing qualities or even astringent qualities. That's a really good one, because using something with astringent qualities, making a soup of that or a tea, then cleaning yourself with that is going to cut down on perspiration, which is going to cut down on bacteria, which is going to cut down on body odor. Body odor stands out, okay? And a solitary self-appraisal for body odor never suffices. What's that old saying? A skunk can't smell its own scent. And that's true, because we're right up on it, So we're not going to smell the extent of our own stench. So that's important to remember. If you have access to clean water somewhere, then that's great, to clean up with just water. But we can also do a few things to cover our smell. One of those things is the coniferous type trees, pines, spruces, even cypresses, and like that, junipers. They've got a really great odor for masking our human smell, or the smell of civilizations. And these can be done a few different ways. The best way is if you have a couple of tin cans, one smaller than the other. You punch a couple holes in the smaller one, fill that up with some pine needles, spruce needles, whatever you've got. Drop that in with some water in the larger can, and get that somewhere where it's going to heat up well, right next to a little small fire. Or if you don't have that, or if you don't want to risk making a fire, then figure out a way to make yourself a very simple little parabolic mirror, something to apply heat. About making fires, if you need to remain, again, having the smallest impact possible, it's important to remember that a campfire, even the smallest fire, can be smelled from very far away. So there are some things to minimize the amount of smell and smoke. Dry wood only. Keep it small. Nothing bigger than the size of your hand, maybe. And have that fire under a tree. The tree will disperse any smoke that might be coming off of it, and make it virtually undetectable from a distance, visually undetectable. Now the smell is another thing. You know, cooking food, cooking meat, like that, makes a smell, so you'll want to alleviate that. And again, this can help your little double boiler there. That's going to allow you to strain the needles out. And you want to break those needles up, okay? And once you've got that wash, you use that wash to clean yourself, you know, having a good rag. So you clean yourself with that. And it's going to be heavily scented, but a natural scent, a scent that belongs in nature. You know, if you're in just dead-on desert where pine trees are foreign to that area, then look for creosote. It's easy to find. It's also called la gobernadora, and it tends to not have other things growing around it. It pushes its roots out and just grows and grows and grows. And the smell is pure desert, the smell of the leaves. That's the creosote bush. Look it up. If you're in just dead-on desert, you can generally find some creosote somewhere. And that has an excellent masking odor. I like it. It just smells like the desert when it rains, you know. So what we're going to do is, you know, if you've got your utility blade or what have you, go ahead and just strip those needles off and get those busted up, cut up, okay? I'm going to go ahead and, just for purposes of brevity, just kind of break these up and get them into my rag. I'm going to make a little sachet of anti-stench. And when I say stench, I don't mean that we stink, but in terms of natural surroundings, we do. And being able to get close to our prey can mean the difference between starvation and another. Gang, Django here, Primal Punch here. Just coming at you with a little more survival tips, and this is all about masking our scent. All right. Now I had my camera die, did the whole thing there, and so I got to start over. All right, masking our odor. Okay. Now this can be for pursuing game, or evading pursuit, or making as minimal an impact as possible on an area in order to remain unobtrusive, to avoid detection. If you're in the city, there's such a cornucopia of scents, just this pile of smells coming at you that nothing really stands out unless it's extra foul, extra perfumey, extra bitter. You know, things will stand out that are strong, really strong. But in a natural surrounding, more natural surrounding, or even in a surrounding with which we're familiar, you know, like your home, you're familiar with the smells there. So a foreign smell will stand out. A person's body odor, the smell of fear, of tobacco, like that. Out in nature, even more so. So this is mostly going to deal with covering our scent out in a natural, wild setting. All right, because the smells of civilization, soaps, our body odor, these are just like telegraph our. They telegraph that we're there. Okay. So in order to cut down on our impact as far as the olfactory senses are concerned, we're going to want to use things that are naturally occurring, okay? And again, as far as smells go, making a fire, you know, the smell of a campfire can be smelled for very far, very, very long distance. Now there are ways to minimize, again, the impact as far as smell and visually. Use as dry wood as you can find. Dry, dry, dry. Alright? A lot of times you can find dry dead branches up a tree where it's broken off and it's hang dried. That's going to be like just the driest that you can find. It's excellent. Never make your fire bigger than the size of your hand. Cooking meat can be smelled a long way off. Alright? Now you can cover that scent to some degree with what we're going to talk about. Now here I had already stripped this off. You know, my camera died. I don't know how much I got. But here I just had a little little pine sprig. All right, these are pine needles. Cypress, spruce, pine. They have a excellent smell for covering our natural human smell, and it's also an astringent quality to the tea made from these. So if we clean ourselves with a rag that's soaked in that, it's going to cut down on our perspiration, which will cut down on bacterial buildup, which will cut down on body odor. All right, you can rinse your clothes in this like that. The needles don't put too much pitch into the water. And the way that you would want to do this ideally is to have two cans, one smaller than the other. You punch some holes in it, you know, using a nail or your utility blade. Just punch some holes. It'll allow you to strain the needles out for the water. Pack the one can with needles, the other can with an inch of water. Cover it and put it next to your tiny fire, or out in the sun, somewhere where it's going to be hot. You know, if you can make yourself a small parabolic mirror, then you can apply heat to that and get that cooking. Now here's the cold method. Alright, you're going to want to crunch these up, or if you've got your utility blade, just chop it up pretty finely, and that's going to get most of the smell out, and you make kind of a cold tea bag. Okay, you can put this into the water, and then the remnants you can carry with you, kind of like an anti-stench sachet. Okay, I got a little piece of paracord, get a little piggin string out, pulled one of the strands out, and we'll tie up our sachet. And you know, you put this into your water, your cold soak, and it's just a good old rag. You know, and figure out what's in your area as far as things that have astringent or cleaning properties. Mesquite is a good one. If you find a spot where a branch is broken, you pick loose that heavy, very dark amber colored sap, and you can make an antibacterial rinse. It's very astringent, but it's also something that will cut down on perspiration, you know, in the points that are going to give you stank. We've got this all cut up, and if we don't have a heat source, you can get this wet and just kind of crunch it around, and it's going to work that smell through. Alright, and you can use that to rub on yourself, and that's going to cut your smell. Alright, you'll want to make sure to do the bottoms of your shoes, any part of you that's going to contact the world. Okay, if you're cruising through grass, your pant legs are going to touch that grass and leave behind a scent trail. Okay, so this is a way to minimize it. You just scrub that bugger on your shoe soles, all over yourself. Alright, and you're going to go ahead and get that smell of humanity off of you and be less obtrusive in your environment. Some other ways, you know, you can even take a full branch off a pine. Now, if you're in just dead-on desert where there are no conifers, alright, no pines or little junipers, ground growth like that, you can almost always find La Gobernadora, the creosote bush. Okay, you'll know it by its leaves are just a very visually appealing shade of green, and they're small leaves that are almost teardrop shaped, and they're very thick, leathery, and very small. I mean, you know, a little larger than a match head on a kitchen match, and that has just an utter desert smell, pure desert, that's not going to stand out. Okay, and that's your best bet if you've got creosote handy. I've got to walk up the road to get some creosote. I didn't have it here, wanted to make this. And that'll make you an excellent wash. It has some alkali qualities to it, and it you know, that's not important. There were some studies done on it about how it dissolves certain cancerous masses, but you don't want to drink that stuff, alright, because the alkalis in it are harmful to your organs. Yeah, that's going to mask the smell. Alright, now making your fire, if you make your little palm-sized fire, okay, make sure that if it's nighttime, that you want to be in a lowered position so that the surrounding area can't see because the smallest fire is visible from so far away in the dead of night. If it's daytime, and I recommend this anytime, okay? Again, you're using the driest available items, okay? You can shred the inner bark off of downed trees. That burns pretty dry, and you get a minimum of smoke off of it, a minimum of stink. Now, another trick is to make your fire underneath a tree, because that tree is going to disperse any smoke that there is, so that visually you're not going to be detectable. Okay, you won't have throwing up smoke signals. So, covering our scent, you can also take a branch of a conifer and smash that up with the butt end of your hatchet or whatever you've got, or a couple of rocks. You bust that up and put that in your little double boiler or into some water just to steep, and that's got a lot of good smells, a lot of sap and everything. All right, and you can shred these up any number of ways. A couple of rocks will do you just fine. If they got a little bit of a flat-ish surface, you can grind up a load of needles on there too, and really increase the broken surface area, so you're going to get more smell out. Put your ear down, silly. It's going to get sunburned. The new dog doesn't have any survival skills. Oh, so that's pretty much it, okay? Just covering scent, and it is pretty important as far as stalking game. Remaining less, less findable. Anything that's going to give us an edge is important knowledge to have. All right. And remembering also, that we're going to do everything we can to move quietly, leave less trace behind. That you can do by choosing terrain wisely. And when I say that, if you can walk on stone, then walk on stone. If you have hard-packed clay that really doesn't leave much of a trace, then that's good too. And walk easy. If you don't dig your heels in, if you sort of just move with a mid-foot landing, then you can minimize your impact on the terrain. That's going to minimize your footprints. You pay attention to what the terrain looks like. You can always obscure your path as well. And a good way to do that is, depending on what the terrain is, just fill your shirt up with some of whatever it is, be it, leaves, pine forest duff, or whatever, and scatter that across any sign that you do leave, okay? And you can create a false trail, with a heavy smell, say take off an undershirt or one of your socks and scrape it on the ground, heading off in that direction, and then carefully walk back on whatever footprints that you did leave, any sign you did leave, and then obscure your scent and head off in the direction you want. Circle back is another way, where you've created your false trail, and your true trail is going to circle back behind your pursuer, whatever or whoever that might be. But it's going to come down to situational awareness, being aware of your surroundings, having a decent level of knowledge about the terrain that you'll be on, what plants might be available, not just for obscuring your scent, but what might be edible. You can always make a somewhat nutritive tea from pine needles. It's harsh. It's harsh to drink. It's not that tasty, but it's got excellent vitamins and minerals. Grass, just your basic everyday grass. You can bust that up and make a little tea out of that, just to get some nutrients in you and help you process water. There's going to be some naturally occurring sodium and stuff like that in there too, and that can save your life. Dandelions, those grow just about everywhere. And the inner bark of a lot of trees, some of the willows and like that, the inner bark is edible, the cambium. But again, this was basically just about the lessening our impact as far as the olfactory senses are concerned, covering our scent trail. Anything that is going to disguise your scent, but is naturally occurring, because you don't want to, you know what, if we're out in the woods, we don't want to take a wad of bubble gum and scrub that on ourselves to obscure our scent, because now we've created a new scent that is out of place. All right. So that's pretty much it for this one. We talked about minimizing our impact with fire. You can do, you know, basic cooking and everything with a simple parabolic mirror if there's sun. Yeah. Check out John Solar's YouTube channel. He made a very simple but very useful parabolic mirror using an old chip bag and a plastic coffee can. And he got a fire going lickety split, but you can also use that to focus heat on a specific spot. Yeah, that's it. Creosote bush is great. Depending on where you are, there's lots of stuff that has a good natural odor that's going to help you obscure your scent, you know. But just look for that. And even if it's not a strong odor to you, it may be enough. And a way to tell if something is astringent is, you know, to make a wash out of it, and if it makes your hands feel dry, then it has that drying quality, which it can be a good quality as far as masking odor. Alright? So I've probably babbled on longer than I should have. I appreciate y'all coming by, alright? Just make sure that you're prepared for whatever situation you might find yourself in, alright? And, you know, minimizing your impact on the terrain. You know, even when we're in the city, alright? When we sprint or run fast, we do a partial roach, you know, where our toes turn against the ground, and that can leave sole marks from our shoe soles, which is going to be a visual trail that can be followed. We leave sign. We always leave sign, but we can minimize that. So we'll think about that, and if y'all have something you want to talk about, you let me know, okay? You live free, punch hard, and be good to yourselves, alright? Because you're worth it, and I dig you. Bye now. Be safe, y'all, okay? Bye.